Is this thing on? Today's video is going to be a one-off. It's going to be a review of a book that was published a year ago today. This is Not Real Life by Lawrence Southern. I find this book interesting because it mixes some of the series I've been talking about, but it's really just a memoir, a personal retelling, a truth to various misconceptions that have been spread online. Lawrence Southern became popular in the 2010s, making conservative content that sometimes was provocative, particularly of progressive folks, and then sort of fell out of grace with sort of the right wing sphere when a number of personal things in her personal life happened: divorce, uh, dating a liberal. Other events occurred that led to sort of her becoming a pariah, both in sort of ultra conservative spheres, but then she was already a pariah in progressive spheres. So in reality, digital politics has made her out to be a pariah, made her out to be a social outcast. And her book, This Is Not Real Life, is sort of her not necessarily an attempt to become a less of an outcast. She's taking accountability for what she feels she could have changed, but then also standing up to where she felt that she did say needed truths. And in reality, the whole book is truth to power fundamentally. It's truth to hatred, it's truth to power. Will it actually work? That's, I think, an unanswered question. But in the Substack, I'm going to get more into the details of her biography. Not too much details. I don't like writing too much. But I'll get into some of the more details of her biography. But I'll go over some interesting quotes that I found from the book in this review of the book. This is Not Real Life. It was released a year ago, and I think it tells us lessons on how the digital world shapes how people think, how people react, how people feel too. The emotions. It's an emotionally powerful book. So I'll go over some of the quotes I found interesting, and then I'll wrap it up, and also read the Substack for more details. I think I chose better quotes for the Substack. All right. First quote: people online act like there's some set of instructions you can follow to avoid divorce. But until you've been there, you can't possibly understand how foolish that idea is. We can control others, and trying to do so only hurts both ourselves and them. Traditional living is possible, but it's not the idyllic 1950s Norman Rockwell painting. It's messy, hard, and complicated. In the era of the internet, with Facetune videos of models making breakfast and cereal from scratch and photos of Nordic women surrounded by babies on farms, that image became the goal. She's talking about her divorce from Australian federal employee who sort of may have worked in the intelligence community, and there was definitely sort of issues related to her marriage within her ex-husband's employment, but also behaviors during the marriage, uh, particularly from her husband, making it difficult to maintain a marriage. Sort of him wanting to be the primary breadwinner, but also having impacts within his career, but also not wanting her to work, even though she had more income potential, having been at the time already produced documentaries, produced independent sort of content that created decent, not great, but decent cash flows. And it's fundamentally challenging sort of the idea that traditional relationships in the modern era are almost a bit naive to a certain degree. Sort of the idea of a single income, single being the man's income. Sure, there's probably a lot of people that want that, both men and women, but how to achieve it has become a lot more challenging no matter where you live. It's harder to sustain a family on a single income. And she criticizes sort of those who think you can do it easily. It's an easy task. It's not. And fundamentally, it's a worthwhile conversation to have, especially in the world of what do gender roles mean. Next quote. They won't ask if I'm racist. They'll ask why. Pushback, and they'll take it as proof you are what they've already decided. Yes, I've made choices that led me here, but it's also clear that both media and politics need villains. Someone to scapegoat, distract, and draw attention. Immigration became that issue for me. I never hated immigrants. I've been one. But I've repeatedly argued that immigration must be sustainable on a cultural, language, and infrastructural level for integration to succeed, for good outcomes for both locals and migrants alike. So again, sort of some of the more incendiary stuff she was involved in related to sort of big immigration issues around the world, which fundamentally has led to rises in sort of populist sentiments, particularly in Europe, but other parts of the world. And in this commentary, she's saying she's never hated sort of immigrants in of themselves. It's, if you are going to have an immigration system, which is a video related to immigration, you need sustainability of it. You can't just bring in sort of knowing numbers, unplanned numbers. If you have a bunch of unplanned numbers, what are you going to do to support them? What are you going to do to feed them? What are you going to do to house them? And if you don't have answers to that, then why are you bringing them in? Why are you allowing them to come in? You could say, oh, it's our duty as humans to help our fellow humans. But at one point, are you going to say, if it's our duty, are you going to house them? If it's our duty, are you going to feed them? If it's our duty, are you going to personally do something other than just expect the government to do it? The government can't always do that. So that's sort of the politics. But overall, the book is also about sort of how it is important to capture attention. In order to capture attention, you have to create an emotional investment. One element of emotional investment is having a villain, having someone who's done something so bad that they have to be brought to justice. It's a tool for crafting attention, generating attention. If there is no villain, often it leads to just, we are all just messed up. And people usually just tune that out. They don't want to listen to that. They don't want to listen to, we all have our flaws. They don't want to listen to, we all make mistakes. It's less entertaining than someone is worse than someone else. So So it's a depressing state. I think there are ways to sort of accept it and try and change it. Sort of not viewing everyone as someone less than you, even if they are, whether it be socioeconomically less than you or whatever. They're still humans, but again, systems versus sort of what we view each other as. So you could argue that one point contradicts another. I would say that planning is necessary for a society to function, but in that you also have to plan for the unplanned. And the last quote I want to bring up in the video. We dress up our spiritual sickness as moral reckoning. I'm not talking about real accountability for crime, abuse, or actual harm. Of course that matters. I'm talking about the obsessive ritual of punishing strangers for things buried in the past, or for moments we never lived through and barely understand. It's performative, antisocial. It's become normal. Huh? This is more talking about sort of modern sort of culture around just sort of digging up dirt based on whether it be personal relationships, digging up dirt, whether it be on sort of personal habits. Fundamentally, it's a tool to feign indignation rather than actually try and help people. You're not really trying to help people, you're just trying to elevate yourself through humiliation of other people. Makes yourself feel better when you try and humiliate others, when you try and put others down. And fundamentally that means online communities have become more to use an overused word, toxic. Spaces fundamentally purposely aimed at humiliation, aimed at making others feel less than. And if there's a fundamental theme of this book, is that internet is not real life. Internet is not the place where you'll actually experience any form of community. Any sort of community you might think you are a part of online. They'll never know you at your worst moment. They'll never know when you're down. And they'll never really have the capacity to help when you're down. So it's more important to find local communities, go outside and meet people, than it is to get stuck in silos. Anyways, I definitely recommend this book. I recommend this book to anyone who wants to understand digital media more. There's definitely a lot of sort of harrowing stories within this book. So definitely do recommend the read, and I will see you in the next one.